Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. Tony's off again today, so you know what that means.
It's Phil and Frank Friday.
Glasses and all.
Finally. How's that for an alliteration?
Glasses indoors. I mean, that's just not...
You know what they say about guys that wear sunglasses indoors?
No,
I'm not
what?
going to say. I'll tell you off the air.
Yeah, we'll just leave that to the imagination. Welcome to PTI. In today's episode, Bryce Harper challenges Fernando Tatis Jr., Lamar Jackson takes on Patrick Mahomes, and Auburn travels to Penn State for another overrated whiteout game. Let's start with the finish of last night's game between the New York Giants and the Washington football team. A series of crazy plays down the stretch included a Darius Slayton drop in the end zone, a Taylor Heineke go-ahead touchdown pass, soon followed by a Heineke interception that gave the Giants new life, and ended in Washington's Dustin Hopkins missing a game-winning field goal attempt, only to be bailed out by the G-men jumping off sides, giving Hopkins a second chance, which he narrowly converted. Frank, did Washington win this, or did the G-men lose it?
Well, Heineke was outstanding, and you hear his teammates, especially on the defensive side of the ball, they're all endorsing him, so he's got a lot of support in that locker room. But let's remember, the Giants had this game won.
Yeah.
And the missed field goal, you cannot be offside. And Joe Judge made his bones up in New England as a special teams coach. And in that situation, why are you offside in the middle of the line? Usually, if you're going to block the kick, it's going to come from the outside. And you left them with a 48-yarder. That's not a give me. In that moment, you cannot be offside. And Joe Judge has to be sickened by it. Dexter Lawrence has to be sickened by it. And the Giants, Mike, 5 years in a row now, 0-2 to start the season.
Frank, you know what's amazing is just how the Giants, even when they weren't having great teams, they were having disciplined teams.
That's right.
Teams that were in it, teams that you looked at and you said, you know what, they might be a person or two off, but they're pretty good. Frank, the Giants just play dumb football. They play dumb, stupid, sloppy football now year after year. I mean, it's like coach number three on this train. And so at first, I was ready when I was thinking about this topic to say, well, it was, 50-50. It was, it was both. It was Heineke. It was this. No, the Giants lost the game because you do have, I hate to pin it on a drop pass. It wasn't a perfectly thrown pass, but it should have been caught.
Yep, that's right.
But you got to look at that, and then you look at the 3 points. You got 4 points there because they had to settle for a field goal. You got 3 on the re-kick, the mulligan on the field goal. The Giants gave it away. But the Washington football team, what's interesting is, they seem to feel so good. They've got a certain collegiateness about them that I think can serve them well if they can win enough games to hang in there. And they seem to, like you said, they just surround Heineke with love. And not just the receivers and the backs and the tight ends and the offensive coaches, but the defensive players, which you don't always see.
Yeah. Now, the interception by Heineke was terrible in that moment. So the Giants get the ball back, 2:16 to go. Ideally, you want to run some clock, score a touchdown.
And they didn't.
They only used up 16 seconds. But again, Daniel Jones, who I thought was very good. So if I'm the Giants, I'm a little optimistic about that, how well he played. But the offense did its job. It gave you the lead. So the defense on 2 of the last 3 possessions did not get it done. How about the drive that Heineke had 17 seconds it took him to score?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Daniel Jones, who's taken he's taken a lot of heat. Which is going to happen to a quarterback in metropolitan New York who's not perfect. That's just the way that's going to go. But you know what? He's not dreadful. It's the turnovers.
Nope.
The turnovers have undermined otherwise, and I know that's a big asterisk, an otherwise, pretty good start in some ways. By the way, he's athletic. Nobody wants to call him an athlete. He is an athlete, man.
Yeah. So no interceptions for him the last 2 weeks. It wasn't the turnovers last night. It was the penalties that killed him.
Yep.
That's what killed him. All right. Now on to baseball, where Bryce Harper is pushing frontrunner Fernando Tatis Jr. for the NL MVP. Harper put up a home run, a double, and 2 walks in a beatdown of your Chicago Cubs last night. And Tatis homered, singled, and walked twice in the Padres' win over the Giants. Harper, all right, now he has the higher average and OPS, but Tatis has 6 more home runs for a team with a better record. Mike, to whom are you giving the edge?
I can sit back and wait and see who gets his team into that wild card spot, Frank, and I might very well decide it on that.
I think that's how the writers will do it.
I don't know if you remember this, and there's another sport, it was basketball, but I think it was like Chris Paul's second year, he's playing with New Orleans. And he and Kobe come down to like the last week of the regular season, and it's not even clear which one of those two guys was going to be the MVP. It was Kobe who wound up winning the 1 seed, and Chris Paul didn't get it. But there are times when head-to-head can, should, and does decide this. And by the way, the number I care about even more than home runs in this is runs batted in, which I know, your modern day, stat heads don't want to consider runs batted in. He has more in many fewer games. He has 14 more runs batted in fewer games. So he's leading Harper by this much. But if Harper, who, by the way, hit so many of those home runs late, who's having a great second half, if he passes Tatis up and gets the team into the playoffs, I'm happy to go with Harper.
All right. I like how we glossed over the Cubs real quickly, what they did last night.
They gave up a 7-0 lead. I know what they did last night.
They were up a touchdown.
7-0.
Joe Girardi is using 4 pitchers in the first 4 innings. It's 7-0. You have your best pitcher on the mound in Hendricks, and here come the Phillies, and Harper has been great. He's got a 12-game hitting streak, 7 home runs in his last 11 games. He's been great. But if Tatis and the Padres make the playoffs, and they're obviously competing for the wild card, it's going to be tough. But if they get in, he's definitely your MVP. They got 3 games against St. Louis, 3 games against the Giants, 4 games against the Braves, and then they end the season 3 games against the Dodgers. He's in a tougher division with a tougher way to end it. He's got more home runs, more RBIs. He clearly is the front runner. If he gets in, he's definitely the MVP.
But if he doesn't, do you think he's still got a chance to win the MVP, or does it automatically go to Harper? Are the baseball writers going to swing their votes and that judgment 3,000 miles across the country to Bryce Harper?
You know what? Here's why they might not do it. Because baseball is different than the other sports, because Shohei Ohtani is likely going to be the AL MVP. He's not going to make the playoffs. And the guy who could finish second is Guerrero, and his team might not make the playoffs.
Yeah, but his team could make the playoffs, which would be an interesting dimension then involving Ohtani. A baseball quirk may cost Starling Marte a batting title. The A's outfielder leads the majors with a .321 average, but he was traded on July 28th from the Marlins, the National League team, to the American League A's. So his NL stats, they didn't convey, and he doesn't have enough at-bats to qualify for either league's batting title. Frank, is Marte getting hosed, and how should baseball address this if he is?
Yeah, he's definitely getting hosed, and baseball is all about numbers. 3,000 hits, 500 home runs, 300 wins. Good luck to the next guy that wins 300 games, because everybody gets taken out about the 4th or 5th inning at this point. But here, with interleague play, this is what they should consider, though. Why not make it his combined batting average and just name him the MLB hitting champion? Because, Mike, think about this. You need 502 plate appearances to qualify. So let's say, for argument's sake, he had 201 in the National League, 301 in the American League, and in both leagues he hit 400. That would mean you would have a 400 hitter would not be the AL or the NL batting champion. That's how crazy this is.
It is crazy, and I'm in favor of, when applicable, just make it the major league champion of whatever statistical measure that is. So I'm with you on that. There are ways to do this. And I know awards are different than actually finishing atop, because an award is voted on and judged. But I'm thinking about Rick Sutcliffe back in, I think it was 1984 with the Cubs. He gets traded from Cleveland to the Cubs. I think he went 16-1 for the Cubs, who make it in the playoffs for the first time since 1945. He was the Cy Young Award winner. He won the Cy Young. Baseball sanctions it. I realize baseball doesn't, there's the writers who vote again, but baseball sanctions these things. So don't tell me that you can't change it. Just because something is made some sort of rule from Major League Baseball doesn't mean you have to hold on to it. It can be adjusted, and so it should be, because this just looks stupid. The optics of this are just dumb.
Yeah, a couple of things. If Starling Marte, number one, didn't play in front of a bunch of fans in Miami, he doesn't play in front of a lot in Oakland. So the fact that we're talking about a terrific player is a good thing. But how about this? In 1990, Eddie Murray lost the batting title to Willie McGee. Willie McGee had the amount of plate appearances. He had over 500, but he left. He got traded to the American League, played for the Oakland A's. His total batting average actually dropped, but his National League batting average is frozen, so he ends up winning the National League batting title, even though he's in the American League.
Once again, you know what? Every day we point out something stupid that baseball just continues.
You said it, quirky. It's a statistical quirk.
Let's take a break. But coming up, Will Lamar Jackson finally get his first win against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs?
And will Joe Burrow take apart the Bears' defense that Matthew Stafford dominated?
No.
Dominated, I tell you.
Yeah, no. No, it's the Bengals.
Why not?
And
Joe
the
Burrow
Bears,
is good.
The Bears, while not particularly well coached, do have some pride among the players, particularly on defense.
Defense is getting old, waiting for...
Time to give you a glimpse of the future in Fortune Teller. Phone lines are open, apparently. Let's take the first call.
Hi, Mike and Philin. Do you guys see Lamar Jackson and the Ravens finally beating Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs?
No, I don't see that, Frank. I don't see it because Baltimore's roster is too decimated.
Yeah.
We know how they have to play. They are not equipped for that quarterback, even with his skill set, and even though he's been an MVP. They're not equipped to have him drop back and throw the ball 35, 38, 40 times in a game, which they may need to in Kansas City, against Kansas City, now that they are just missing all these running backs. And I know you bring new running backs in, you think these guys are capable, but it doesn't mean that they're equipped to go out there with almost no practice time under their belts and just run all over the Kansas City Chiefs. So no, I don't see Baltimore, I don't see them having enough offensively that's ready to go to change the result and beat the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, and last year Lamar Jackson threw for 97 yards, and he said Kansas City's our kryptonite. And guess what? He's 0-3 as a starter against the Chiefs with Mahomes, and he's 30-5 against the rest of the NFL. That's the one team you can't beat. And how do you beat the Chiefs? You either have to do what Tampa Bay did in the Super Bowl, where you knock down Mahomes all the time, or you have to control the football, the clock. And I'm not so sure they can do that because of all the weapons they've lost. He's going to have a ton of pressure on him. If he were to win, I don't care if they're playing in Baltimore. It's a major upset.
We saw what the pressure does in this first game, in the season opener.
Yeah.
That pressure can even get to Lamar Jackson. So, look, it'd be a nice upset, and that's a marquee game, and it's worth watching because Baltimore has some stones, right?
Yep.
They're not going
They
to
got
be
a lot of
afraid.
pride
They're not
on
going to be
defense.
scared.
That's right.
And so they do have that pride on defense. What is next?
Hey, fellas, love the show. I just want to know if you see Joe Burrow carving up the Bears' defense this Sunday.
Okay, no, he's not going to carve up the Bears' defense. I don't want to hear about any numbers. This is about professional pride, too. The Bears' defense last week was a sieve, all right? And this is where coaching, even on the offensive side of the ball, can hurt the defensive side of the ball. I don't know if that team has any confidence at all in the head coach and what they're doing on the offensive side of the ball. And after a while, the defense just drops its shoulders and says, what now? We got to do this again? We got to hold people to under 16 points again every game the whole season? The Bears will rise above that malaise this week. They'll take Joe Burrow out. They'll take the Bengals out. He will not carve up anything.
Yeah, here's a guarantee. No matter what happens in this game, the quarterback that we're all going to be talking about on Monday is going to be Justin Fields. The same thing as last week. It's not going to be Andy Dalton, and it's not going to be Joe Burrow. But Joe Burrow, last week, how about the game that he had? 20 of 27, 261 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had the big 4th down play, 4th and 1.
He played well.
In overtime.
He played really well.
But here's where I'm going to be concerned if I'm Cincinnati. He got sacked 5 times.
Yeah.
And that's the reason he got hurt last year, because they couldn't protect him. And guess what? After 1 week, and I get that the game went into overtime, they still can't protect him. So this is a big moment for the Bears.
Yeah, the Bears' new defensive coordinator and the Bears' defensive staff needs to wake up because that defense looked plenty vanilla last week. That defense was worse than the offense, which in Chicago is an indictment that no one can stand. So that defense better wake up and play this week. I believe they will. We got one more call, Frank.
Here we go.
Hey, guys. I just want to know, do you see Auburn beating Penn State in Happy Valley?
You know, this is a rare and sort of an attractive matchup, Frank, because Auburn last played at a Big Ten school in like 1931. This is
90
something
years
they
ago.
do. I mean, Southeastern Conference teams, they don't really go on the road.
Nope.
They go to Atlanta, and they call that the road. Or they go to Charlotte, and they call that the road.
Yep.
It's not the road. This is the road. I'm tired of hearing about the whiteout. I hate the whiteout. I think it's just overstated and pretty stupid. And they'll go crazy over it. The broadcast will go crazy over it. Auburn can win this game. I admit to rooting for Auburn because I need to have a Big Ten team in the L column. I got Auburn winning. What do you have?
Yeah, how about James Franklin? He spent the week kind of talking
Fending off. Yeah, rumor
about
talk.
the USC. I think you and I are the only 2 people yet to be linked to the USC
Hey,
job.
I got a call.
But They're always going to call you first. Meanwhile, Auburn has a running back, the aptly named Tank Bigsby. How great is that?
Over, dude.
He's got 140 of his 240 rushing yards are after contact.
Yeah.
So he is a tank. But your Big Ten, and you're in the Big Ten.
Yes.
And you already had a loss last week.
Yes.
Oregon coming on the road beating Ohio State.
That hurt.
If Auburn goes on the road and wins, your Big Ten is not getting into the college football playoff.
Will look like the Pac-12 if we lose this game to Auburn, but I think that may very well happen. The phone lines are closed. Stop calling. Let's take one last break, but in our future, I see us talking about the latest petty behavior, and there's decades of it.